say your name out loud. Go ahead. Just once. That sound, that specific arrangement of syllables, has followed you your entire life. It was the first word spoken directly at you. It pulled you out of a crowd. It marked you as real, as present, as someone who exists in the lives of other people. But there will be a day when no one says it anymore. Not because you are forgotten immediately. That is not how it happens. It is slower than that, quieter. And when researchers began studying the way names disappear from human memory, what they found was far stranger than anyone expected. Here is the thing about your name. You did not choose it. Someone else gave it to you before you could speak, before you could object, before you had any idea what a name even was. And yet it became the most personal sound in the world to you. Neuroscientists have confirmed that your own name activates your brain differently than any other word. A 2006 study by Jari Hietinen and colleagues found that hearing your own name triggers activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, the same region involved in self-reflection and identity. Your name does not just label you, it is wired into the architecture of who you are, which makes what happens next so unsettling. The people who know your name right now fall into invisible categories. There are the people who say it every day, your partner, your closest friend. These people carry your name with them constantly. It is attached to a face, to a voice, to 1,000 small memories. Then there are people who know it but rarely say it. Colleagues, distant relatives, old friends you have drifted from. And then there is a third group, people who once knew it and have already half forgotten it. People for whom your name surfaces rarely, briefly, and then sinks again. You already exist in layers of forgetting. Sociologist Tony Walter has written extensively about what he calls the trajectory of the dead, the path a person's memory takes after they are gone. He found that it almost always moves through 3 phases. First, the living memory phase, where people who knew you personally keep you present through stories and conversation. Second, the historical memory phase, where your name survives in records, documents, photographs, but the people who actually heard your voice are gone. And third, what he calls cultural memory, where only fragments remain, a last name passed down, a photograph with no one left to identify it. Most people never make it to phase 3. Think about your great-great-grandparents. You might know one of their names. Maybe. If someone in your family was careful enough to write it down. But do you know what they laughed at? What they were afraid of? What their voice sounded like when they were tired? No. And the strange part is, they were loved. Deeply. The people around them knew their name the same way the people around you know yours right now. With complete familiarity, with total intimacy. And still, within 4 generations, almost everything was gone. This is what researchers call the 150-year rule. It is not an official scientific law, but historian David Lowenthal observed it across cultures. Within roughly 150 years of a person's death, they vanish from living memory entirely. Their name becomes a data point at best, a date on a gravestone, a line in a genealogy spreadsheet. The texture of who they actually were, gone. Your name is on that same clock. Now here is where it gets strange, because forgetting is not passive. It is not simply that people stop thinking about you. Memory researcher Hermann Ebbinghaus mapped what he called the forgetting curve in the late 1800s, and his findings are still considered among the most important in cognitive science. Memory degrades fastest in the first 24 hours. Then, it slows. But it never stops. Without repeated reinforcement, a memory dissolves, not all at once, but piece by piece, detail by detail, until what is left is more like an outline than a person. The people who love you most will fight this. They will tell stories. They will bring you up in conversation. They will say your name deliberately, almost as a ritual, because somewhere in them they understand that saying it keeps you real. Grief counselors have observed this behavior across cultures. Name-saying as a form of preservation, as if the sound itself holds something that photographs and objects cannot. But eventually, even the most devoted mourner forgets the small things first. The exact way you phrased something, the specific expression on your face in an ordinary moment, then the medium things. The texture of your personality, The things that made you distinctly you rather than a general idea of a person. And finally, even the people who loved you most will find that when they try to picture you, the image is slightly wrong, slightly constructed, a memory of a memory. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus spent decades proving that human memory is not a recording. It is a reconstruction. Every time you remember something, you are rebuilding it from fragments, and the rebuilding changes the fragments. The people who remember you are not holding a fixed version of you. They are holding something that shifts slightly every time they think about you. Which means, in a very real sense, who you are in their minds is already not entirely you. And then those people die too. This is the quiet brutality of it. It is not one death. It is a cascade. Each person who held your name in their memory takes a piece of you with them when they go. And when the last one is gone, the last person who could say your name and mean the actual you, not a photograph or a document or a family story, that is the second death, the real one. The writer Salif Keita once said that a person dies twice, once when their body stops, and once when their name is spoken for the last time. Variations of this idea appear across West African traditions, in Japanese ancestor veneration practices, in the oral cultures of indigenous communities across the world. The name is the thread. When the thread breaks, something essential unravels. But here is what the research did not predict. Here is the counterintuitive part. The length of time your name survives has almost nothing to do with how successful you were, or how famous, or how many people attended your funeral. It has to do with the density of your relationships, with how many people you made feel known. Sociologist Robert Bellah found in his studies of American community life that the deepest grief, and therefore the most sustained memory, was not reserved for the most impressive people. It was reserved for the most present ones, the ones who asked questions and remembered the answers, the ones who showed up, the ones who made other people feel like they were being seen. These are the people whose names get said the longest, not because they achieved more, because they connected more. Your name is, right now, being held inside the minds of every person who has ever meant something to you. Every one of those minds is a kind of storage, a living archive. And every time someone thinks of you, every time they say your name, every time they tell a story that includes you, the archive refreshes. The forgetting curve resets slightly. You persist. The ancient Egyptians understood something about this. They believed that to speak a dead person's name was to give them life again, briefly, in the realm of the living. They inscribed names in stone not for decoration but for survival. The more times a name was read aloud, the more times the person lived again. It sounds like mythology, but the neurological truth is not far off. When someone says your name, when they picture your face and feel something, a version of you activates inside their brain. Real neurons, real electrochemical signals, a kind of ghost made of biology. So, say your name out loud again. The same sound, the same syllables someone chose for you before you knew anything. But you know now what that sound is carrying. You know it is a thread that runs through every person who has ever mattered to you, and through you into everyone you have ever made feel seen. You know it will last exactly as long as those connections hold. Exactly as long as the people you loved keep telling the truth about who you were. The day your name stops existing is not fixed. It is not scheduled. It is being decided right now in every conversation you choose to have, in every person you decide to actually know. The sound is the same. What you do with it is not.